Hey guys, this is Mikro. I'm back with another video. This one's gonna be a VOD review of a IGVG player in NA who goes by Creager, who's playing on a alt account on Orofina. He's a really good IGVG that Dropouts has a bit of a different play style for me, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to look at his gameplay and then kind of critique it. I've so this is like a war that happened 2 days ago, I believe, versus Egode. Egode used to be on top, one of the best companies in New World East. West Bench is newer, has a lot of good alts, tends to be a very good company, and then so we'll just see how it goes. I haven't looked at this gameplay at all, but I know from recent wars, Krieger's been really popping off. So you can see, like, right off the bat, he's playing on top of Whirlwhip, or he's trying to play on top of Whirlwhip, but he can't play super close because he's just getting caught by bruisers. He's playing, like, really in here, like, at the beginning here. Like, he's definitely face tanking. I think, like, at this spot here, probably should have just went for, like, a shower over here and then kind of, like, walk this way and then let his bruisers push up so that he would have more space and he could play a little bit behind his bruisers rather than trying to front line so much. Like, that shower there is good. This should have been an Oblivion in my opinion, and then to a dodge into a Entomb. He gets scared, he pops the Entomb early, it kind of makes sense, but at this point, there's nowhere for him to run. So, go next life. If you could hear the comms, I got a respawn collar in the back. I'm trying to keep the comms on, but I'm trying not to have it too loud. So you see how he's, like, always on top of his bruiser? This is something I don't see a ton, like, which is you should see all the time, but not a lot of people play on, like, the shoulder their bruiser anymore. They kind of play zone control. So it's nice to see that he's still able to play with his bruiser, even like in a meta where it's kind of harder to do that without getting punished. He's always, like, throwing his cooldowns near or on top of Whirlwhip, near the big clump, and Whirlwhip tends to go for big clump, so this makes sense. I don't think there's anything he could have really done there. His army just got wiped there at the beginning. Overall, this is like a really weak start for West Bench and a really strong start for Ego. Normally, people get to cap B point like, I don't know, like 6 to 10 minutes usually takes. And that was a 2-minute B cap. Here, I really like that he's wrapping like this long way rather than doing something close where he'll just get caught. It's like kind of smaller, but you'll notice that with some people how they'll just kind of run through the clump, but he knows that he has to play near the edge of it unless he's committing with his cooldowns, and then he'll go in. See the little voice icons above people, and he's able to follow up on them. He's going for a lot of IG cooldowns, or I'd probably be going for VG. Like, I'd be looking to try to get VG value here a little bit more. That shower is really good. Like, lets him live, lets his team take space through it, and makes it so that the other team can't back up. But he hasn't used Scream in like a very long time. I'm surprised he's holding it this long. He has a really good Scream here if he wants it. Whiffs it. Decent idea. But he held Scream for so long just to do that. I probably would be using that a little bit more. Or be trying to. Because ice showers are really good though. Every single one of these ice showers has gotten a ton of value. Like, there's bruises that are trying to back up and they get caught into it. There's this team trying to push forward and they get the haste from it. Like, not a lot to hate there. He's trying to play that, like, edge where you just can avoid Shockwave but still be near Whirlwhip at all times, and that's, like, really hard to play as an IGVG that way in this meta. Just because more people are slotting bruisers all over the point, so it's, like, kind of hard to keep that spacing, because there's bruisers on Deady point now, there's bruisers on the outside of point, there's not really a safe spot all the time, it's, like, very dynamic. That was a nice ult. There's no one that was actually able to follow up on it, though. Like, it was good value, but I think he thought Whirlwhip would be able to finish those people, but he wasn't. It still forced cooldowns, so that wasn't bad. And I'm a big fan of basically ulting off cooldown because he's gonna get this ult back in like another 30 seconds, so. His positioning here is really good. Like, he can't really play on the point, and he can't really play too far to the right, so he's like kind of in the only spot that he can play safely while being close. That's an insane scream. So like the scream, I'm gonna back it up to it. Like here, like he hits the scream and then he goes for the ice shower. The only thing I would have liked to see a little bit more is for him to maybe walk through here and then shower this way so that when these guys on the red team back up, they're going to back up into the shower and then they're just going to get blocked. And then at that point, they'll just die. Versus if you put it right on top of them, they'll be slowed for a second, but it won't like really kill them because they won't have to double dodge. If you put it behind them, they're going to walk into the shower. And if they had dodged to try to avoid melees and dodge into the shower, then they're going to have to dodge again and it will be reduced distance and it just overall helps secure kills a little bit better if you don't put shard right on top of people typically. But if you put it right on top of them into a heavy, then it can work well. He's not like turning for the heal or anything, but he can't do that on his role. His role is purely to support melees. If it were me, I probably would have looked at that clump that was on his left a little bit harder. He's strictly playing on his bruiser though, which is the better way to play. But there's also an argument to like look at the big clumps and then hope that and then like if your team's on the big clump, not maybe re-break that trend of like supporting a bruiser and you try to help versus this big clump on the left here, which is what he's doing now. But he's just like either always in front of where his bruisers are going to be and holding cooldowns, or always like a little behind where his bruisers are going to be, and he's basically only using cooldowns for his bruisers unless there's like a really important thing. Like right there, the guy was 50% HP, could easily secure a kill. Unfortunately, did not, but there's a good idea there. He's playing like a lot further back than I would normally play, but I believe he runs more refreshing and a little bit less refreshing ward, so it kind of makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna mute the comms. I don't know what's going on with his audio. But he's taken all the space that's given to him, and he's trying to push up, and he just like literally can't push up because his army's not here. But he's still able to hold the space pretty effectively, and he's in a spot like right here to make a play if he needs to, and he's just waiting for his bruisers to be there. Sees a really good play here, goes for it. Would expect him to ult and then drop an obliv, which he does. That order could have been a little bit better. I'll back it up to that. So this is like already like just yelling to me to just like go for the screenplay, like scream into ult into obliv is typically what I would do. Obliving last to try to catch the cleanse pot. He gets flattened here, which is like actually awful timing. That scream at that point, that was like not the best scream. I think at this point it would have been actually better to go for like an ult, like just directly, or going for a shower or an oblivion. Like the scream there is not actually able to hit that many people. He's gonna switch off his scream and lose the fortify, which he could be using to back up. So it's a little bit awkward. That being said, the tomb is really good. He somehow gets out of this alive, which just doesn't make sense to me. But like this should, yeah, okay, good. I was gonna say if he got out of that alive, that is like literally criminal. Let me see if his mic is better now. It is. You still see that he's playing like really well on top of his bruisers. I don't think he has another. I think Rasputin's IGBB and he's the only IGVG, so he has to play on top of both his bruisers at the same time. So he's doing that really well, which is like a common thing now. You don't see as many IGVGs. You see a lot more IGBBs. Like I think most companies only slot like maybe 6 IGVGs at this point, and about the same amount of IGBBs, and then the rest are sort of other DPS builds. I'm gonna skip through the beginning part of this because it will just be getting down siege, and there's not gonna be a ton to see. That was a good scream, good obliv. If it were, I think he might have killed him if he did this. One thing I always look to do is I try to get behind people and then drop like an ice shower, like here-ish, so that if they were to back up, like the same concept as earlier, if they back up, they back from my ice shower, they die. Like if you're able to get that off, it always carries, but it's like kind of hard to get that off sometimes, and this might be one of those cases where he's not sure if he can actually get that off. Like this is definitely the safer play, but he could have maybe secured a kill there. I think this is probably better though what he did. It's just like off the tempo. Like if his team's pushing forward and he can catch people that are trying to back up, it's good. If his team's backing up, then he wants to use the shower on the other side to get back in. So I think he looked at that and figured it out. Vines didn't get anyone. It's like really hard to get the vines when there's so many ice showers in this choke. This is what I really like. Oh, he reverted again. Like the idea of like kind of stepping a little bit beyond where people normally are. So if he's here and then he like literally just no shoot, I hit the wrong button. If he's here, there we go. If he's here and then say if he has ice shower, which he does not have right now, so I guess it doesn't matter in this case, and then he walks over here and then drops the shower here and then people back up to it, those two bruisers die every single time. This is like the definitely the safe play is just to back up here, and I think it's fine. Especially if they have so many. I think I like get behind plays probably a little bit better if like say they walk through this choke. This is a really big choke. You could take advantage of that there. He's still setting up for a whip really, really well. And Nuno's also there, so he's setting up both his bruisers pretty well. I think that the biggest thing about this is like a very safe but like good value IGVG style. Like not like a when I play IGVG, I play a lot more shirking forward. I play more freedom than this guy plays, so he has to play a lot more conservative than I do, I imagine, which is what you kind of see in this gameplay. Which is still like he's going to end up getting a ton of assists, still getting a ton of arm value. He's just not putting his like life on the line basically very often, which is fine. That's the kind of shot I was looking for earlier. And you see the bruiser dies because of it. The idea being the bruiser committed, the bruiser has to get out, who's going to try to charge out or to dodge out, and if he does either one of those into your shower, they just die. He does it again here. So now Jordan can't get out super well. He somehow got through the shower. I think he just managed to charge right after that shower went off. That's actually kind of crazy. Jordan's a really good bruiser though, so I'm not super surprised he's able to make that play. If it were me, I would probably solo ult that guy a little bit earlier. And he's like very conservative with his ult, it feels like to me. I would be using this almost off cooldown because you get it so fast. Like there's at this point there's no point in ulting, but when it's like like a 60-40 fight and you're slightly winning, I don't see the point in like not ulting. I like the shower to support his bruiser and help him get out. You notice how he's not putting himself in the front, but he's letting his bruiser take the damage, his bruiser's taking the heals, and then he's very low resource intensive, but is still getting value. That's something that I could work on and is just very solid at times. Like if you have a bruiser that's going in super hard, you don't want to be taking a lot of resources from him. You don't want to be low. You just want to be relying off the AoEs on the area that you're playing. And that applies to both IGVG and IGBB. Yeah, that Beget is closed. This is really good. There's like one spot there that's like a little funny that you can take advantage of on B. Like on the sides right here, this like cubby right here, you could actually stand in, and then this blocks LOS from that side. So then people won't actually be able to hit you, but you'll still be able to hit the people over here. So that is just like a sneaky way to get a little bit more value than most people are able to get. I mostly use it in heavy, though I would probably not use it if I did not have, like, Refreshing Ward and it was not in heavy on IGVG, but it's like a Deady Point IGVG, that's something that I will look to do sometimes, and some bruisers look to do sometimes. That spot only exists on B gate, and it only exists on that side, it's not as good on the other side. There's still kind of a cubby, but it's not nearly as good. This is also a sneaky cubby that you could stand in, this is mostly a healer one. But you can stand in that. So there's some healers that will like stand in that and they'll have really low CDR and they'll just spam clap because clap doesn't matter about OS and they'll just heal everyone on their team. Not as common anymore, but it's a funny little spot. There's a couple of those in the fort. Notice how he's trying to not be between the bruisers that are pinching him and his bruisers. So this is like very, very safe. He's letting the people get in, he's just trying to live, and then once he knows that he'll win the long fight, so he's just trying to live for now. Now he's trying to support his team on that front side. This is like where that like opportunistic kind of passive style kind of comes in. Like if it were me, I would have committed like right off the bat. And probably died, but he's still alive because he's not committing. He's waiting for a good opportunity before he commits his cooldowns. Like that, like that. That's a really easy opportunity. If you're not in a position to make that play, you won't be able to make that play. If you always commit all the time, you're not going to be able to make that play. So that's where his style kind of separates itself. Is like when people get low and they're trying to get out, he's going to be the guy to catch them. This doesn't really do anything. I guess it kind of scares the healers, but that's about it. IGVG's not particularly good at that job of forcing out healers almost ever. This is a mistake. It's like the same mistake I talked about earlier. You see these guys on, I'll use red for their team. See how red is trying to walk out? If he's really smart about this, he walks in, he screams them, and then he drops the shower over here. And when he drops the shower this way, when these guys try to get out, they'll walk into the shower and then they'll just die. Instead, you see the scream and then he goes for the full combo here. At this point, this is the mistake. Dodging in this direction is bad. He should be dodging over here and then dropping the shower, going into tomb, and then backing up. Like, it still results in kills, but this could have been a lot cleaner and he could have got 2 or 3 more kills off of that play. He's not doing eat into autos, but he also has all of his VG cooldowns, so this kind of makes sense. And I don't think he has a refreshing move on IG, which is not why he's not on IG. That's a good shower because the Reds are trying to push in, but he's able to just stop the momentum and sort of reset his team because his team was a little bit overextended. Now, the one thing about these like areas on B, this is, let me use yellow. This is a choke. This is, if you're over here, or let me set this up real quick. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so this choke right here, if you're in this choke, then and the attackers are here, then the attackers will be inherently favored because you're stuck in a choke. And the defense when the attackers are in the choke will also be favored. So it's basically the B point is like a funny gambit about trying to bait people into the choke or push really quickly through the choke so that you can get their repairs off. So if he's on D here, he wants to really quickly push through here, set up a line way over here so that attackers can't like do anything to him in the choke. And if the attackers push in, then defenders can jump off from behind, push out. We use black. Jump off from behind, push out while he is pushing up. And then when that happens, then they'll just collapse on them, pincer them here, and this will just be a kill box. And everyone there will die. But in general, that's why you don't see people standing in the choke for super long periods of time and try to push through it very quickly. If you have people behind you and in front of you, it tends to be really hard to live. So this is really bad, right? Because they're able to push through. So this comes back to the choke thing I just talked about. This is a choke. Attackers are able to push into the choke while defenders are still in the choke, so defenders will inherently be at a disadvantage. If defenders were able to back up to here and then trap attackers while they're in this choke, then the defenders would be at an advantage. But because they took too long to rotate back, the attackers will be at an advantage here. Usually, I would put that mistake on an IGVG. An IGVG should be able to slow down the tempo with the shower there, and should be able to help his team like kind of put that back in his favor. So I wouldn't say it's like fully his fault, but I would say that's something that could have been prevented by him if he was aware of like kind of reading where the people were moving a little bit better. He's on the edge of point here, which is really good. He's not like committing to being in a fight, but he's preventing the point from being ticked. This is very safe. He's really forcing that scream. I feel like he needs to wait for the scream to come to him a little bit more. Like, this is a spot right over here where it would have been really easy to get a scream on these two guys, but he's not able to because he tried to force a scream on a solo guy earlier. He actually hits the solo creep that time, which is good, but he still has to do like a 180 to hit the scream. It's like not super easy and a little weird. The healer comps here are really good. You just know who's getting healed when, and people can play around it. Like, Creager knows he needs to not take a lot of damage right now because his bruisers are being healed. That shower should have been about one more foot up. Shower's here, this guy dies for sure. Shower's back here, this guy is like a 50-50 of living or dying. Still dies. That's what I'm talking about earlier. It was like you have to read the tempo. He read the tempo perfectly there. It's going to buy his team time to back up, get repositioned. That was a perfect shower. And that's like partially why showers are so often runs, because they're able to control that gate tempo, and the gate tempo is like the key thing that prevents people from easily winning in fort. EU, I think showers are used a little bit less. EU also does stuff though where they try to bait like one person and then just pocket heals them, so it's a little bit. They're able to bait out some of the cooldowns earlier or prevent showers from going off, so it just is a little bit easier for them to push through choke because of different techniques that they use in the actual choke to get through it. Really good shower. Really good vines. That's just a carry play. That should just win him be all alone. You trap them in, and then you lock them in place, so there's nowhere for the opposition to really go without walking through a shower. That jump is a little sus, but he's on 100 ping, so give him a little slack. Should be looking to shower here. Yep, good shower. Not the most insane value, but it's able to reset tempo. This I don't like a lot. I don't like people taking fights like directly in the choke a ton, for the same reason I said earlier. Like, this is less bad, but you want to be able to back up around a choke if you get forced out. There's not a ton going on here. It's just his team is doing a rotation, so he has to play really conservative. The Reds are just doing a regroup, so they're not pushing in yet. That's a good shower. It's good awareness to see what's going on here. He's trying not to play in the big clump. I don't love that storm, but everything else about this I like. Actually, no, I don't like a lot about this. Let me get to the spot where he gets the decision to make a play. So what I like to do here, if red is super outnumbered and is pushing into me, what I like to do is I'd like to drop a shower, so I give myself a little zone where I could play for free, and then I'll look for my Void Gauntlet cooldowns on top of the reds pushing in. So that way I'm like safe, they have to walk in my shower to push through, and then I'm still able to get my value rather than jumping into them, having to use all my abilities, and then trying to figure out a way to get out alive, which is a lot harder. So like right here is basically where I would have showered. So say that he does not drop this storm, drops a shower here, and then goes for Void Gauntlet stuff, and then backs up, and then drops the storm back on here. Then I think that will get more value, especially because he just overlapped on another storm that was already there. He also doesn't go for the vines here, which is noteworthy. That would have been a good vines, but he can't get it without using the shower first. They still win the fight, but this could have been cleaner. Now we're at the part of the war where it's actually possible for attackers to win due to the respawns being long. He does a really good job of not getting overly staggered and dying to melees. He's really playing this edge. At this point, this is scary. Like, Ego definitely can win. Wasn't a bad idea, but he got caught by Detonate. From his perspective, that wasn't the best play, but it was okay. Like, the shower still got value. There's an argument to run Stoneform basically for this reason, because if he has Stoneform here, he's able to walk up, able to win a really clean shower and avoid Gauntlet combo, and he doesn't have to worry about getting staggered from Path of Destiny. Which is like one thing about EU, they really like there's a big thing with them where they want to Path of Destiny healers all the time, but this is a case where if red Path of Destiny's Krieger or Misfortune, then like you're not gonna be able to, he's not gonna be able to actually get value on top of this. He's not gonna be able to land his shower, so it's like a weird spot where the Path of Destiny is actually doing a lot, but you wouldn't think it is. This is another regroup. It's not gonna, nothing's gonna happen here. I'm gonna fast forward. This is just, they rushed this. They should not be pushing this early. This looks like a feed from red, to be honest. Yeah, they really forced that. They had 5 people and trying to do a push through B. Like, you can't do that. The order of his cooldowns there was actually awful, but the idea was good. You should be looking for Scream first generally, then Oblivion. Orb is his last thing. The Orb does apply a Ren, so it's not bad. It's not always bad to use it from range. Like, there's some people that always would be like, no, you have to Scream, you have to Oblivion, then Orb. But if you use Orb from range and just apply the Rend, it can get value and has a really short cooldown. So I don't see a ton of problems with applying the Orb just sometimes like this. This kind of Orb I don't think is bad. I would argue that he should drop the Oblivion, so that his team gets a damage boost and a stam regen boost too. Like, especially here, this is a really good spot to drop an Oblivion, but not a lot of VGs will drop an Oblivion here. But it's good for the stamina. It's not just, you don't always use VG for the Oblivion part itself. Another spot where I would think about dropping the Oblivions here. I don't think he really uses Oblivion for that though. He's just looking for it to confirm kills. It's not as big of a nuke as it used to be. Like Oblivion used to be a thing where you drop it and everyone just dies because it can't receive healing, but it's not that way anymore. They don't really hold that space, so his gate repair can't do anything. It's another spot where I think about dropping Oblivion. There's a lot of these spots where I don't think he should be holding his cooldowns odds hard. Like here's a really good Scream into Oblivion that yeah, that was insane. But at the same time, like he could have done a Scream into Vines there and it would have been as good if not better. Because the Scream will make it so that they can't dodge and then or they effectively and they'll try to be popping a cleanse spot while that's happening, and then you could use the vines after that to cancel the animation of the cleanse spot. They do very well versus that push on B though. I am noticing one other thing I don't like. So he's dropping shower like on these clumps a lot of times, like on top of bruisers. This used to be like very good during ultimate shield meta. What I would argue now is with shower, it's better to drop it on top of healers. So like there's a healer clump over here, for instance, and if you drop shower here, that's gonna force the healers to use stam or to back up, and then that's just itself gonna make it so that they heal the army a little bit less, and you're basically turning a useless cooldown into a somewhat useful cooldown. I don't think Storm is very good. Shower is good, but the way that he's using Storm, I don't think is good. That was an insane shower. Like he is borderline should just be dead here. Tick is very very high again. This is concerning. That was like the most patient everyone get on point I've heard in a long time. I think I might have got on point a little bit earlier than that, but it worked. It was a clean wipe though. I think they baited the other team to all in, and then they all in later, so they inherently just pinched them and wiped them. I would have liked to see a shower at B gate there. I like that shower. I don't like the storm. The storm should be back in the choke area. Like he should be storming like back here-ish versus here. I like the obliv. This is like the first time where he's used obliv for stamina, or like almost used it for stamina, and that's like very underrated in my opinion. It's a good call. I'm gonna speed up through the regroup. Red's got pressured. They've got to back up. His team showered. His teammate showered so early there. That was such a bad shower. Oh god. But everything else has been pretty good. It's another spot where I should have dropped Oblivion for the stamina. I've been saying the same things a lot, but I could type up notes at the end. I mean, at this point, I already have notes from. I'll move it to a different tab, move it back at the end. This is the last push that Ego's gonna have. That was good. I basically single-handedly just secures him the war that vines. At this point, there's nothing Red could really do. They're walking into showers or walking into oblivions. They just have to power through, but once they get through and get past this choke, then they're not gonna have access to heals. Like if they LOS like the line there, then they're gonna not have any heals. I did not draw that line super well. Okay, I don't know how they got on point alive, but they did, so good for Ego. They should still die here. Yeah, this is just I'm gonna speed this up and see if there's anything else that happens at this point. It doesn't seem like there's anything else. Yeah, this is just pad. There's no hope of them doing anything. So third most assists, pretty good. Low deaths. Like ideally, you want to be looking at 3 to 7 deaths. Like this should be, if I could find the right buttons to hit on this program. This should be 3 to 7. This does not really matter. This should be as high as it can be, and he's third, so that's solid. The damage is fine. The damage doesn't really matter. So yeah, that was pretty solid. I do have like notes I typed up at the end, so these are like the big takeaways I have in terms of things to improve. In terms of like what he did really well, it was just like the timings of like when he went in were very good, and the like decision making in general was very solid. He didn't really rush things. He let most decisions come to him. He did rush things at times, but in general, this is very solid. So the oblivion for stamina at times is something I think he could work on. I don't think everyone uses oblivion that way, but there's definitely times where you should be using it that way. Pinching with shower, this should not be storm. Scream into vines at times. So the idea behind scream into vines is you scream them. When people get screamed, they have two options. They could either spam dodges while they're still diseased, which tends to not be what people prefer to do, or they could pop a cleanse pot. Most people naturally will go to pop a cleanse pot because it tends to be the better play, but if you go to pop a cleanse pot and someone hits you with vines, that will stagger you, which means that you can't get the cleanse pot off, and then people just get nuked and basically insta-die. So that's why screaming into vines at times can be a really good play. And while people are popping a pot, they can't actually dodge, so it's a guaranteed hit on the vines. And storming on healers to force cooldowns is something I think you could work on a little bit too. But yeah, that was Krieger. I think it was overall like a really solid war. I've seen some better wars that he's played recently, but this is still like a very solid war. Most of his mistakes were just like that happened at the very beginning of the war, and for it there was not much that actually went wrong at all. So yeah, that's what I have for this one. Let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next video.